All right, so now we've got the recording going, so we will go ahead and get the meeting minutes pulled up for review. So no problem. They're just a very basic outline. So if any point anybody has any thoughts or input on a way that if I missed a topic or there's a different format you think would be better, like please feel free to share any of that information. Mark and Ryan, I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at them, if you had any edits.
No, it looked fine to me.
Okay.
Yeah, no edits.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll go ahead and call those approved since we're not technically a formal board. I don't think that we need to take a vote on them or anything. So we'll go ahead and call those approved. I do want to pause really quickly before we move on to the next agenda item and circle back. Since Ryan is new, I don't know that we really got a chance, Ryan, last time to kind of dive into like the timeline, and it's been a little bit since we did our kickoff meeting. So we're gonna plan to try and keep all of our meetings to an hour just to be respectful of everyone's time. As we get into this process, if we feel like we're not moving quickly enough, we can certainly have a discussion if we need to lengthen those. My preference would be to meet for a little bit longer on one day rather than add like a second meeting in the month. But we can certainly cross that bridge when we come to it. If we come to it, we had a discussion that we were hoping to be able to have this plan kind of wrapped up and updated by the end of the year, and then submit it to the town board for review and approval sometime in early 2025. So that's not a hard and fast deadline. That's a self-imposed deadline. It is a pretty aggressive deadline. So just kind of wanted to circle back to that. I feel like we are kind of getting a little bit of a slow start, so that may get pushed out a little bit. So we just wanted to review that. Ryan, did you have any questions about the timeline or how the meetings are gonna work or anything?
No questions from me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's take a look. Our next agenda item is the draft language for the print ads and mailing. So I'll go ahead and get those pulled up. So one thing that we had discussed previously is kind of, to me, there's like 3 tiers of written material that's going to go out. And I've sort of arranged them here from shortest to longest. So our print ads are going to be the most concise, short and sweet. Our mailings are going to be a postcard format. And water bill inserts. So those can be, I think, a little bit longer than our print ads, but still are going to be fairly concise. And then the third is going to be some sort of flyer. That's something we can post on the bulletin board here at Town Hall, or the library, any other places or organizations where we think we can post the flyer. Also something that could be included in, an email format, newsletter kind of format. So I don't know, do you want me to read it out loud since everybody hasn't had a chance to look over everything?
Yes.
So the first is going to be our print ad. So both, all 3 materials, I want to make sure that we include a QR code. So that's that sort of black and white little square thing that you basically turn your camera on with your phone and scan it, and it'll be able to direct them directly to our website. So they can immediately pull up our survey without having to go searching for anything. It'll be a quick, easy, direct link. I am not good with QR codes, so I'm hoping to be able to tap Birch Craig to help us with that, and he's not here to say no. So Yeah, you,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So we'll figure that, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So we'll get that on there and then we'll also include the town logo.
I suspect that there's probably some online thing that pretty easily generates a QR code.
Okay,
You just enter a URL and it'll generate the code, and then it's an image and you copy paste it wherever you're going to use it. I've never tried it, but I'm just taking a guess that's what's available.
okay, great. Yeah, so it sounds like we'll be able to figure that piece out. So as far as the language, I have the town of Canadice needs your input. The town is undertaking an update to its comprehensive plan. In each update of the comprehensive plan, the town solicits input from residents to voice their opinion through a town survey. Visit canadice.org to take the survey or scan the QR code. Surveys are due by XXX. We haven't determined that date yet. You can also sign up to receive emails from the town of Canadice regarding meetings, highway operations, important information from the clerk's office, and more. Thoughts?
Well, I think, we got some time to tweak it at some point. I would add on all three of these, just and I don't know what the link would be, but also another, link to the town's website if they want to know more background information or something like that. We could put the one of those URLs that I just created on the town's website.
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody's going to get this, they might hypothetically have some additional questions, and if they went to that, I don't have it open here. If they went to, I got too many windows going. But anyway, they went to one of those links that we set up. I think they could find out some more. So that's it's like a one-liner you could add to each one of those, or maybe it's even another QR code to make it easy. But keeping in mind too, a lot of people don't know what those codes mean. Plus,
And
there's
maybe,
people that don't have internet access, so I want to have a maybe some form of information at the town hall they can come in and look at. But for now, I think the wording's fine.
okay, so we should add something that materials are available at town hall. And maybe it's more appropriate for the QR code to link directly to that comprehensive planning landing page, and the survey link will be right there, but then also the additional materials.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea, Caitlin. Make it even simpler that they started that, and I finally I opened that up. That's a really quick explanation of what's going on, and if we link, so if they're taking the survey, they understand what they're doing. We're not just blindly sending them into the survey.
Okay.
My 2 cents.
So I think maybe visit canadice.org to take the survey and learn more, or I can expand on that a little bit. And learn more about the plan. Okay.
Some food for thought on the town's webpage and the town's emails. There's discussion on changing it from a .org to a .gov for security reasons. So
Okay. Do you know what?
anytime in the near future, that's something we'll have to talk to Chris about as far as the timeline for that, but that was
Okay.
something that was discussed at the board meeting the other day.
Okay, that's yeah, that's definitely really good to know. We don't want to get everything out there and then have it change. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. Any other thoughts? I think the print ad and the mailings I had pretty much the same. Any other thoughts about those two before I read the flyer aloud? Okay, so for the flyer, again, we'll still include the QR code, the town logo. It starts pretty much the same. The town of Canadice needs your input. The town is undertaking an update to its comprehensive plan. In each update of the comprehensive plan, the town solicits input from residents to voice their opinion through a town survey. Visit canadice.org to take the survey or scan the QR code. Surveys due by whatever date we choose. You can also sign up to receive emails from the town of Canadice regarding meetings, highway operations, important information from the clerk's office, and more. A comprehensive plan is a statement of a community's goals and a guiding document on how to achieve them. Provides guidance to municipal leaders that is consistent with residents' preferred vision. A comprehensive plan provides the town of Canadice's residents the opportunity to guide the town board, planning board, zoning board of appeals, and other elected and appointed officials. It is a long-term planning document and your input is incredibly important to shape your community. An update is a combination of a comprehensive review of changes, a survey of the town residents and property owners, and demographic updates from state and county databases. Don't miss the opportunity to have a voice in your local government.
Very good. I like
Thank you,
that.
Dwight. So I will definitely make that first paragraph, I think, is verbatim from the print ads and the mailing, so I'll make sure to update that with the 2 changes that we just discussed. Beyond that, anything else about the rest of the language that jumped out at anybody?
The only thing I would think is talking to people, including myself, actually, really, what is a comprehensive plan? But I
Mhm.
think you just spelled it out. You
Okay.
just did it. You got it, girl.
Well, and I think that there's often a feeling of sort of like apathy towards local government, like, oh, I can't change my community, like, I don't have any power, but this is really such a great tool for residents to really have their opinions heard. And it's not done very often, so it is, important that we get as much feedback as possible. Okay, any other last thoughts? I will do a little bit more tweaking on this, and I'll get that out via email. I may request that we just finalize this via email prior to our next meeting. Just to kind of keep the ball rolling. Once we finalize it, I'll want to get it to Supervisor Vastola, and I'd like to get Eileen's input as well, just on the final language. Okay. So next on our agenda is I might jump to agenda item number 4 just because I think it's going to be pretty quick and simple, which is going to be discussion of the email platform and survey platforms. So I've been doing some research into some of the more popular platforms and what sort of functionality they have. So MailChimp is one of the more commonly used ones. I know other municipalities are using it. So I did speak with somebody from MailChimp earlier this week. So it sounds like we actually would have enough functionality in the free service level that they offer, which does not have a monthly fee. And even within that, they have functionality to do a survey through the email platform. So it would be one platform and there would be no cost to participate. So that seems kind of a no-brainer to me. The only thing that I saw with MailChimp that at some point could become an issue is there's a limit to the number of emails you can send per month, but it is based on your number of contacts. So you can send a total number of 1,000 emails a month. So if you have 100 subscribers to the email list, that's 10 emails a month. That's plenty. If we get up to like 250 subscribers, that's only 4 emails a month. Again, I think 1 email a week is probably sufficient. I've definitely gotten feedback from residents that if you email much more than that, it's too much and they unsubscribe. So obviously it's gonna take us a long time to build up our subscribers. I think we have a smaller community. And it's not something that is gonna fill up overnight. So if at some point we get a ton of subscribers and we get to the point where we feel like we don't have enough emails per month, we can go to the next service level, and that is $13 per month. And then you get up to 5,000 emails. So I don't think we would ever go past that. So just from my discussion with the salesperson at MailChimp, he was like, you know, I would suggest you get started with the free account, check it out, see if it's meeting your needs, and then kind of go from there.
So how do you get the subscribers to this?
So that's what like those postcards will send out, like what,
Postcard first, though.
yeah, so that's what we just read. So we'll put print ads in definitely the Penny Saver. And then we'll send out those postcards.
Got
We'll slip some things in with the water bills, just as a kind of doubling down, reminding people. And then we'll get our flyer out anywhere we can.
Also,
that's-
the town's current web hosting capability, you can set up a form where people can submit a question, it's for anything really, but we could set up a form where they could if you want to subscribe to the the email list, click here and give us your email address, and then that goes to, you can direct that to anybody.
Okay,
That worked out well when we were working on the water project. If people had questions and it wasn't abused, and so we've got that as another way to sign up subscribers. So
okay, great. Yeah, well, we'll definitely utilize that as well. So even with all those methods, I think it's gonna be a very slow growing thing. So I think that we will be able to kind of fall under that free service level for a long time. And then I know that this is something Supervisor Vestal is interested in learning more about. So I told him I would update him after we all spoke today. I know that previously the town had used SurveyMonkey. So I'll be interested to get into MailChimp and play around with the survey function of it, just to make sure we're going to be able to get the results out in a way that's usable to us. SurveyMonkey really specializes in surveys, so you may be able to extract the data in a way that's a little bit more functional. But there is a fee associated with SurveyMonkey, which is fine. We have budgeted for that. So if we decide that MailChimp doesn't meet our needs, we can certainly look into SurveyMonkey as well. But either way, we're going to need the email platform because we really want to start being able to communicate with residents in that way.
if you wanted to ease into it, it would be very quick to set up what I just described a minute ago. Send us an email if you want to subscribe, through, like, we could put a link on that landing page for the comprehensive plan. Click here to sign up for the to get on the email list. And even if we don't actually start mailing stuff out, at least you could start getting a feel for what the response might be, which would be pretty low, but like I say, it could be a way to start the process gradually.
I think that's a great idea. Like, let's start capturing them as soon as possible. What if that person only, they got that short-term rental postcard and that's the only reason they opened up the web page, and they don't normally visit our web page, but
Yeah.
Even if they only are coming once in a while, let's start capturing that. I think that's a great idea, Mark.
So we just need an email address, Caitlin, to to send, to have those go to, so.
Yes, so
Or if
that
you want to
is
set up
something.
your, I don't know if you want to, I don't know what it would take to get one under the canadice.org domain, or if you
So
just want to
I'm,
set up a Gmail.
when the emails go out from MailChimp, they will, whatever the email address that the account was created under, they're gonna come from that email address. So that's definitely something I want to talk to Supervisor Vastola about. I think that we should set up a like info@canadice.org, like kind of like a generic email.
Yeah, I
That,
agree. I agree. Town, use the town domain.
yeah, it definitely needs to be under the town domain, but if the town domain is going to be changing, so we got to kind of pull those pieces together. So we need, I think like a generic, and usually you can set up where that info@townofcanadice.org goes to forwards to other email addresses. So like whoever emails it, like Eileen can get a copy and say, oh, this really should have gone to Caitlin, or this should have gone to planning board or town board. So we can kind of work out some of those logistics. Okay, any other questions, suggestions? Anybody ever heard anything horrible about MailChimp and they think it's not a good choice?
Never heard of it. MailChimp.
I have used it with a previous municipality that I worked for, and I found it to be
Great.
very
Good.
user-friendly, easy to use. So I think it would work well, and free seems like a pretty good price.
Yeah, good prices, right?
Well, also keep in mind, you tend to get what you pay for, but at this point, it's,
Don't be negative.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yes, that is true too, but I think that the functionality, I think it'll have the functionality that we need. We don't need a ton of different marketing or trying to segment our audience into different groups or anything, so I think we should be good to go with that. So I think we'll go on to the survey if everybody's ready for that. I'll get the screen up here. So this may be a little bit of a heavy lift, to get through it all tonight in a half an hour, but I think we can do our best. So my general things that I was thinking about that we need to update or think about as we're going through all these survey questions, is we need to look at the questions about things about internet access. I know that there's some talking about like Frontier phone lines, so some of the technology stuff, I think those are gonna need to be updated. The public water stuff is gonna need to be tweaked, because we previously didn't have public water the last time that the survey was done. I don't know if we want to put something in about short-term rentals. That's also sort of a new thing that really wasn't around when the last survey was done. I don't know, Jeremy, if you've had a chance to look through the survey, there are so many highway questions, like.
Quite a few highway questions.
I also think the survey is maybe a little long. I would suggest that we take a long, hard look at all the highway questions and decide which ones are really necessary and if we can kind of clean some of those up.
Is this from the past survey?
Yeah, so this is the
Yeah.
survey that went out in 2000.
I think it was 2009, and it was the survey. I could be wrong on that, but it definitely was the survey that was used. Yeah, it says 2009 in the header.
Oh, yeah. So
And it was used for the 2015, the current version of the comprehensive plan, because this was actually an appendix in that plan. So even though, it took them quite a while for whatever reason to get from the date of the survey to when they actually finally got the plan through the town board.
6 years.
But this was the last version of of a survey.
Yeah, yeah. So that's not gonna be us. It's not gonna take us 6 years.
How did you even send all this info out? It can't be on a postcard.
No, they mailed, printed copies of the survey to every
To
resident.
everybody.
Yes. So that's also, so that's something that I am proposing that we change this time. I would rather send the postcard with the information about how to find it online
Yep.
and have printed copies available here at Town Hall,
Mhm.
and potentially at the library as well.
Absolutely.
I don't think that we need to mail printed copies to everybody. It's also a huge lift to then input any printed ones into the computer.
Yep.
And I think we'll get a better response rate with people filling it out online versus having to like mail it back in.
I guess my only concern with that is how are you gonna guarantee that the people actually answering the survey are residents of Candace?
So
Anybody could walk into the library and pick up the survey and fill it out, mail it in, and
yes.
when they live down in Richmond, you know.
And maybe that is something we need to tweak a little bit, with the first question being, are you a resident of the town of Canadice? I know with surveys I've done previously, when you're doing it online, if you click no, it says, thank you for your time, you're not eligible to take this, like it automatically
Right.
will kick you out. And we can sort of work with, obviously Eileen's gonna be able to direct somebody if they're a resident or not. And I know Janelle at the library is really fabulous. So I think if we chatted with her, she would, and we can still have that printed question. So if they check no, we say, okay, this one's not eligible to be counted.
I would also think that the number of people who are going to lie about being residents is gonna be a very small amount. Who wants to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Jeremy? But you could get some wackos, I understand.
I don't know exactly, requires a little more thought for this. I don't know exactly how it's done, but I think there's gonna be pretty strong potential for a number of people that don't do online access. I mean, older folks. They just aren't, they just don't have the capability. But that requires a little more thought. So just to throw that out there, I wouldn't automatically write off. I don't know if you gotta mail one to everybody in the town with a local address, or everybody that gets a tax bill, or how you do it. But you need to at least make the option available somehow for them if
Do
they
do you think that saying, so the postcard is gonna get mailed to everybody that gets a tax bill? Do you think saying on the postcard that they're available at town hall or the library is enough? Or do you think we need to add language that says, we'll mail you one at request?
Well, I don't know. That's why I say it requires a little more thought, because even doing the postcard, call us. We obviously, they're probably not doing email, but call us if you were stopping, if you want a hard copy. That's an additional step, and you might miss some people. Maybe it's not a significant thing, and I don't want to answer it tonight, but just kind of make a note of it and think about it.
I think it's the right idea. Yeah. Absolutely the right idea.
I don't think.
A minuscule you're gonna lose. Not interested in.
Yeah.
So do you think it's enough to say on the postcard where they're available?
Yes.
Or do you think we should offer to mail it to them by request?
You can do both. You can do both. But I think it's gonna be a small amount.
Right. But like I say, we
Yeah.
don't have to answer that right now. Maybe answer it at the next meeting or two, but
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Dwight, is how many people are actually gonna request us to mail one?
That's right.
If it's 10 people,
Maybe.
that's not a huge lift to make sure that we are
Right.
really just making it as easy as possible for everybody.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Good thoughts, good thoughts. Okay, so let me get this one back up. So I'm gonna kind of just scroll through here. If anybody has anything along the way, just let me know. I thought most of the first 5 questions were good. Where's your property located? Are you full-time seasonal? Do you have lake access? How long have you lived or owned your property? Where do you perform your occupation? I had no problem with those. And if anything, I'll go through them with more of a fine tooth comb just to make sure that the language is correct. I feel like there was maybe a small typo in a few of these questions. So then questions 6 and 7, we start to get into those phone service, internet questions. I propose that we eliminate any questions about landline phone service. I don't think at this point they're of value. I think it's a very small section of people that have landlines, and I just don't know why we need that information. I would propose we ask more detailed questions or a question about internet access, because I think that that is something. I wish Birch was here to pipe in with his when Spectrum coming to my side of town.
You can't get I can get Spectrum.
Yeah,
I just got Spectrum.
yeah, I,
Just the point when you're talking about the Frontier guy that came out after I was down 5 days.
yeah,
And he came out and he said, Dwight, at the end of Jersey Hill, we have a switch box.
mhm,
There are 86 people on that switch box 3 years ago. Now there's 6 with landlines, 6
wow,
from 86. And
wow,
now there's 1 less because I switched.
yeah,
Yeah, I said, unbelievable. He said, they don't, that's a lot. They don't
Yeah.
care. Frontier doesn't care.
no,
But
My,
everybody's,
my suggestion is to drop anything about that stuff because, there's so many options. Not everybody has every option, but there's so many options. But the real clincher is there's really nothing the town can do about it.
Yeah. that's right.
So why even bother?
Yeah.
Asking.
but there are, Spectrum has certain requirements where they are supposed to hook up and run
Yep.
new line, a certain amount of customers every
Mhm.
year or a certain amount of miles. I don't know exactly
Oh,
what
that's right. That's right.
what the stipulations are, but if they don't meet that, then they lose potentially their license to operate in New York. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, they were like in front of the Supreme Court in New York. So I don't know if because of that, if it's important for us to know basically like, are you happy with your internet service? Or I don't know if we, is your internet speed adequate or not? I don't know exactly how to phrase it.
Well,
Yeah.
that was a state PS Public Service Commission thing that went down when Time Warner sold the business to Spectrum. And again, this is a town focused thing, and that's really a state issue, and and especially a town the size of Canadice. Like there's nothing to really the town is in a position to do. I mean, you can squawk, but you're not going to get any action. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it.
Well, the options are so limited. They're so limited
Yeah.
where you can go.
Ryan, Jeremy, do you guys have any thoughts? Strike all those questions.
I feel we did not see those up there. I don't-
And
at
again,
this point, I don't think they're really all there.
and I think the shorter the better, the better quality of responses we're gonna get, the more likely people are to do it. So I think because of, obviously, we wanna get the information that we need, but
If it's a concern to somebody, they can write that in the comment section at the end.
great idea.
Very good.
I mean, at this point, just thinking real quick in my head, every location in town has at least 2 options that are reasonably priced. Some of them, like, what Birch does, he's got the Starlink, which is a bit on the pricey side, but he's got huge speed up at his place. So like I say, it's not a thing the town can deal with. And at this point, there's at least two options for everybody. Whether it's Frontier and a cellular carrier or Frontier and and Spectrum. So again, I just go, simplifying, trying to make the survey even more efficient, and also realistically, what can the town do for the town residents in this area? So,
Yep, I agree with that. Okay, so I think we're all on the same page. 6 and 7 will remove. I liked question 8 and 9, just why you moved here, why would you leave? I thought those were good questions. Question 10, most pressing problems, again, great question. There was this question about the septic leach systems. Did residents think that the town should take a more active role in requiring that all septic leach systems have periodic inspections? People pretty overwhelmingly said no. A lot of answers were, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Costs, if there's cost to that. Thoughts on, some of these questions I feel like came out of, like, there must have been issues with this at some point when around the time this survey was happening potentially, or, sort of those like squeaky wheels get the grease. So I could really go either way on this question. I would defer to input from anybody else.
I've been here 35 years. I'm trying to remember if there was any historical thing, and I've been involved in town stuff in some capacity for quite a while. And early on, there was more talk about it, but another thing that happened in the meantime, and I don't know the details, and maybe a follow-up, Caitlin, with the code enforcement officer or his deputy, and even they're relatively new guys. The town has shifted, and I'm not even sure what the current requirements are that when a piece of property with a septic system is sold, I'm not sure what is required for inspections.
Yeah, they
municipal code.
have to be pumped and inspected if
Yeah.
the property is sold.
Is that a municipal requirement? I know a lot of mortgage companies require it.
I think it's ours, really.
Is it? It could well be. I just have lost touch with that. And I think over the years it's become
I think it
less
might
of
be,
a hot topic, but it's probably worthwhile to keep this in there, in my opinion.
I almost think it's a county.
Yeah, I know.
It's either a county or a state thing, I think that it has to be
Yeah,
done.
it's
Definitely somebody, I know that.
Yeah, in Canada Ice, it's handled by the code guys. Bounce all that stuff to the Ontario County Soil and Water.
Yep.
I mean, so that's who does it now in this day and age when there's a municipal requirement in Canada Ice. And it could be that it's become less of a issue just because it's migrated in a more regulated fashion. But but to go back to, do we want the question in the survey? I think it's still worth having in there just to get people's sense on it.
Okay,
My opinion.
yeah.
How many more questions are there?
There are,
That's a lot.
35, but some of them get pretty subjective toward the end. And and we haven't weeded them out.
Yeah, I think there's
So-
some weeding.
oops, sorry. So, yeah, so maybe we kind of put like some question 6 and 7, we're saying remove them. Maybe question 11 is a little bit of a maybe we find out more what, I can always reach out to Ontario County Soil and Water. I have a working relationship with them anyways, and pick their brain about it a little bit, and maybe that influences either how we word the question or if we still think it has value. So we'll
In the code, in the current town code guys, if you get just give them a call and ask them a quick question, what their take is on it. but they might just say, talk to the county, so.
I can ask them about that.
Okay, that'd be great, Jeremy.
On a
Thank
regular
you.
Basis.
Hey, Jeremy, just out of curiosity, when you guys are out, checking the roads and stuff, do you ever notice any smelly spots or especially green vegetation coming up in roadside
Gray
culverts?
water in a ditch, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's quite a few around, especially after a pretty substantial rainfall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Okay.
curious.
Mhm.
And then there is one of the comments, I thought was interesting was, that if there's an issue, the homeowner, most septic problems can't be ignored by the homeowner anyways. So I don't know if that's entirely true, but I think that was interesting feedback.
Depends on what the issue is. When your toilet stops flushing, it's hard to ignore the issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God.
So what services would you like the town to provide? I definitely think this has value. We'll take a look at if there's any additional services we think we need to specifically mention in there. In your opinion, what town ordinances need to be better enforced? I think that one has value. How do you find out what's happening in your town government? I definitely think that one is important. What is the best way for the town government to communicate with you? I think those are both very important. I did just make a note that I couldn't quite tell if these were short answer or multiple choice, but my suggestion would be to make them multiple choice with like an other that could be short answer. But just for extracting data, I think we should choose what we think are the most likely ones and have those short answer. The 3 town roads that you use the most, I thought this was sort of interesting. Jeremy, does that have value for you?
It's nice to know what. We have a pretty good idea of what our most traveled roads are, but it's,
Yeah.
it's nice to know. If what our ideas coincide with. What the data says, I guess.
And I do think too, when we're comparing 2009 survey to current survey, I think that there's value in looking like what were the most traveled roads then? Is that
They
changing?
didn't have Google Maps back then.
Yeah, true. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
What used to be a very low volume road now has quite a bit of traffic on it, because Google Maps tells you that it's 3 minutes quicker if you go this way.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So I think there's definitely value to that question. Let's just take a look and make sure. Because we have more town roads than this, or is this? I'll just make a note to make sure that that list is up to date. Question 16.
Hey, Jeremy, do you think there's any, this might be taking it too far. Is there any advantage to Candice Hill Road is on there, specifying which section? I don't know, it might be going too far because like the southern end of it, it's dirt and I don't think there's many Candice residents that use it. Birch would not agree with that.
That could have use, because you get a lot of traffic, that veer off and take Ross Road as opposed to going straight on the
Yeah.
dirt.
Well, and technically, Candice Hill Road is County Route 37, which the north end is heavily traveled, but I guess I wouldn't look to answer that right now, but just something, I'm sure we'll be going through this list a couple times and something to think about the next time we go through it. But again, it might be making it too complicated.
Yeah, but to your point, well, it looks like some of them already are, north, and those are separate roads.
Town line needs to be changed to Tibbles now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Town line road.
Well, and even Tibbles, east part of it versus the west part of it. when the reason that caught my eyes, I'm looking at Holmes Road and I'm looking at like Old Westlake Road. Well, north and south, they're two separate roads, but it cracks me up that there's nobody that uses Holmes Road that responded to this, which is no surprise. But there's two halves to Holmes
There's
Road. One
gotta
part
be
of it,
at least four, because there's four people that live on
yeah. Well, they didn't answer the survey.
it.
So yeah, so we'll
Anyway,
work with
not
that
to beat
list.
that to death.
We'll make sure that all of the roads are on there, names are correct, and look if there's any that need to be segmented at all. Quality of snow removal and sanding.
100%.
I think they're doing a great job, side note. So, I mean, so as we look through, maybe I'll just read through all the highway stuff, questions that are on here. And then we can kind of circle back. So we have snow removal and sanding service. The general quality of the highways and road shoulders. What are your opinions of road signs and road striping? And then we get into discussion of the town budget. What portion of that is used for highway operations? And questioning whether residents would be willing to pay more for a short period of time to build a self-sustaining emergency reserve fund. Did that ever happen?
I don't believe it ever did.
They get rid of that.
That
Well,
question.
To
seems-
give you a little more background on the financing of the highway operations, there was a succession of highway superintendents that did not always have a good eye on the budget. And, that led to some turmoil, but then we've had a succession of some pretty good ones, the last few guys who had much more savvy on the financial side, and including Jeremy, but have done a much better job at managing the budget. And the town is the town board also is paying more attention, doing some more creative things with leasing, which they never did before. Also having the strategic plan, even though that changes year to year. There's Jeremy, as I recall, it's a state requirement that you have that 5-year plan, right? So I think
The
a lot
284.
of this financial agita over the highway department has been resolved just by better management, to make a long story short. So I don't know that it needs as much detail as that, but Jeremy's I think, it's up to you, Jeremy, how much of this stuff you think is relevant.
At this point, I don't think that question is necessarily relevant. We are kind of planting the seed for a new town shed over there at some point, but
Yes.
we're already building a reserve fund into the budget. So it wouldn't necessarily be something where taxes are gonna raise to fund this project.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you and your predecessors too have gotten better at finding non-local sources for funding, like with the new garage there at the highway department. I think Mike Virgil had a lot of, it took him a while, but I think he rounded up a lot of money for that from the state. I don't think the town ended up paying as much, they didn't pay full boat on that, but so.
There's a lot more opportunities for grant funding out there now than there probably was back when this question was originated.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think we all agree 20 seems complicated, long, and outdated. What is shocking to me about this question is that the yes and no's were almost 50-50.
Yeah, I would have figured that.
I can't believe 49.
75 no.
Yeah. I can't believe 49% of people said they would be willing to pay more taxes. That's pretty shocking to me.
Well,
So,
that's interesting.
realizing severe weather can change any plans, should the highway superintendent supply a 5-year plan for capital
Already do that.
projects
There you go.
and road repairs? So sorry, we're kind of. I thought the questions 17, 18, and 19. Snow removal, quality of highways and road shoulders, and road signs and stripings were all of value. I think once we start to get into some of these questions about the highway stuff, I think is where we can start removing stuff.
Yeah, I think 20 and 21 can go, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all agree on that. 22, this must have also been, it seems like there was some,
It was a very hot topic for a while when we had some
Friction.
earlier highway superintendents that were doing things that weren't quite right, and there was a lot of agita. This one seems to have died down. And when it showed up on as a ballot item, there's been kind of a lack of education, and people look at it and they, their gut reaction is, I don't want to lose any power at the ballot box. It's kind of an esoteric question for a comprehensive plan. And as long as you've got competent highway superintendents, even though they're, elected, it's not so much a popularity contest. So I don't know.
I would vote
valuable
for
this is.
removing this question. I don't think it's of value.
Absolutely.
You might run it by Chris Vistola just to see what he says, but I would agree. I don't think it's something we need right now. But it's one of those things down the road, if Jeremy's successor, or if Jeremy loses an election to some Yahoo, this could flare up again. But in terms of a question for this questionnaire, I don't think it's something we need in there, but you might run that by Chris Vistola.
Okay, I made that note. My biggest concerns about the environment in the town of Canadice I do think this is interesting just to gauge. I don't know, do we want to leave this as just a short answer, or do we want to provide a couple of multiple choice options in addition to a short answer? Like, I don't know, blue, green algae should be listed. That I'm always thinking about, waste reduction and disposal.
What do you have about in the blue-green algae? I know they got everybody in the world trying to do different things. That's not working,
Yeah.
but what are you gonna do? I mean, I think they're trying a lot.
So this question isn't necessarily how we're gonna solve it. It's asking as a resident, what are your biggest concerns
I
about the
believe that to be
environment?
a very big concern.
And so I could go either way. I mean, I feel like we'll see that as an answer a lot. I don't know if it makes it easier on people responding to put, if we think we know 3 or 4 potentials, or is that trying to like guide people too much? Like, are we giving them ideas of like what's wrong?
Yeah, I don't even know how that would be in the plan. How could we put that in the plan? Blue-green algae.
I mean, something in the plan would be, to continue to protect water quality
Yeah,
and
try to.
work with the, Honeyway Lake Watershed Association. Is that the correct
Something like that.
title? Task force, are they attached?
But
Task
that's
force.
pretty much out of our hands, I would guess.
Yeah, well,
Other than financial contributions.
Oh, to that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
There's,
we contribute to
yeah,
that?
for certain projects and
We can look at that.
Yeah, actually, I mean, my opinion on this one is give them some check boxes, but then also leave a blank.
Yes.
But to talk to Dwight's point there, yeah, the town, like the weed harvester that some people get all knickers and a twist over, the town contributes to some of that operation. The town's also contributed to other efforts of that task force, and every month, one of the town board members Terry Gronwall is, he makes a report to the town on what they're up to. So it's, we're kind of auguring in on Honeoye Lake water quality here, which you'll definitely get a lot of responses about that. I mean, that'll be a high interest, but it'll be interesting to come up with a few other checkbox things as well as just things we didn't think of. Another thing.
The wind turbine is still a relevant, that's still a relevant question. with-
Yeah,
With the Naples and the South Bristol project that they're trying to, we'll go ahead with right now, so.
yeah. And the town did adopt and Birch worked pretty heavily on that, solar, solar levels of solar farm kind of, photovoltaics. But still, it'd be interesting to put some of that stuff on. We just need to think a little bit more about it.
Yep. I jotted all those ideas down and I can kind of wordsmith some stuff. So I put algae,
Yeah.
wind turbines, solar power, maybe there's something, a general bucket about clean energy. Obviously, I'm gonna want a waste and recycling question in there. And then maybe some sort of water quality, or maybe instead of the algae question, it's something about water quality. And kind of back to how this plan ties in with that is, development can affect water quality and, steep
True.
slope, having certain restrictions on development on steep slope and, things like the project Jeremy worked on with Ontario County Soil and Water over on, you did Kratzley and what you did.
We did Cratsley, we did Jersey, we did Canada Ice Hill Road.
So they used this, did you hear anything about this?
You drive right past it probably every day.
It's this,
Probably.
Now that it's got grass growing in it. you
What
probably
is
don't
that?
notice.
I don't understand this.
it's this really cool, like cement,
Oh, yeah,
block
yes,
material that
yes,
they put in.
I've seen that. I've
So
seen
it
that.
slows water going
Yeah.
down to the lake so that
Right.
the nutrients are absorbed. So he partnered with Ontario County Soil and Water we were kind of the guinea pigs, right?
Oh, yeah,
They kind of tested out this new material.
Working, Jeremy?
works awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
looks
looks
good.
it looks really great.
Good.
Virgil bought the first little bit of it and it works really good. So we kind of incorporated it into a program where
Yeah,
with soil and water, it's a 75-25% grant, so.
so
And
that's,
so
pretty much
those
what
are
we want.
things we can put in, the highway and transportation sections that, the highway department continues to
Canada's
protect
does.
water quality.
And the key is Richmond has a majority of the lake,
Mhm.
so they all gotta be tied in together to have it work.
Yeah, that works out from when I was on the town board, that worked out pretty good, the cost sharing. It's they would pick up whatever the share was of any project allocated to the towns. It's pretty much been the historical course. They pick up 75% and Canada Ice picks up 25%. So
That's fair. Yeah,
yeah.
totally fair. Yeah.
I would keep something in there about logging too. I mean, the town has last I knew it was a requirement to get a permit, but it was more to encourage education and to make people smarter about when they hire loggers. There's a lot of fly by night guys, but with a little education. So it's been kind of a gentle approach. I don't know what people's perception is of that. And of course, logging's been off as a industry anyway. I don't know if that's going to show up as something interesting, but I would still keep something about logging in there.
DEC is about to log a huge section over on the Lake Road, not too.
Yeah,
far
I see
from-
they got a bunch of trees marked, which
They actually made that sale almost a year ago.
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Guys that are still standing.
yeah, once they make a sale to a logger, there's usually some option and the logger might wait to see how the market goes.
They had, over the summer, they had to do, invasive mitigation. So along with this buying of the timber, the DEC required that they did X amount of invasive mitigation in each one of these, woodlots that they're gonna be working in, so they were doing that in the summer.
Hmm.
You know, that autumn olive and, whatever, whatever else they consider invasive.
So it is 7:04. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. We are in question 23. Do we want to power through the last 10 questions really quick? Or do we want to put a pin in it and pick it up again at our next meeting?
Well, I'd like to get it over.
Okay,
but Everybody
we'll
else,
power through. I
We're gonna power.
feel like we've gotten through some of the harder ones.
There's some ones on there about the city of Rochester DEC
Yeah.
and things that can be omitted.
Yeah.
Because that's obviously happened at this point, so.
So I think commercial, industrial development, I think those questions are really the bread and butter of the intent of comprehensive plan. Residential I think the development questions are all good. The type of new housing that we would like to see. I do think that has some value here. It's a little bit more of a complicated question.
But you can reduce it to numbers. So I think it's worth keeping.
Yeah,
Might revisit the details.
yeah, I agree. Are you satisfied with the number and quality of park and recreational facilities? I think this is a great question. Should the town of Canadace undertake a joint effort with New York State in providing improved park and recreational facilities at Harriet Hollister? I don't know how I feel about this question. I don't know even the feasibility of a project like that, and
Is-
the typical comments from before are very like, why is the town of Canadice paying to improve a state park that's used by a lot of people outside of the town?
oh, it's a good question.
Yeah, historically, there's not been any real, I mean, there's been communication. Harriet Hollister is run by one organization in the state, and the rest of the, the state forest is run by another. And in my experience, historically, there's been pretty decent communication, but there's never been any other detailed, joint projects or anything like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, you might have a better feel, but they kind of do their thing, like they did a massive improvement of the parking area at Hollister, and the town really didn't have any input on it. And again, it's like,
Just ruined our roads with all
yeah,
the trucking going up there.
Well, is the
Yeah.
town involved in financing this?
no, not directly. I mean,
It's
It's a state park run by
State
Stony Brook. It's actually run by Stony Brook.
All right,
Oh,
so we're,
Well,
we're out of it.
I'd rather see that question say something, should the town install Easy Pass toll booth on the dirt road in order to fund paving it?
well, what I always wanted to do is, those spikes they have at the rental car things at the airport.
Oh,
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do.
Maybe it's an area that.
You're welcome to join in. 5 more questions to go. So are we all in agreement that question 29, we would suggest for removal?
Yes,
Yeah, maybe
yes.
just as is gets got to go, but maybe keep a thought open is to, if people, something about, and it needs some thought, but do people feel like the town should take a more active effort with the, Parks and Rec as well as the, DEC, something like that, but I don't know.
I'll just make a note. Do we need to reword question 28 to reflect? Like, I think question 28 can kind of capture all of that in one question.
Yeah, kind of combine the, basically try to get people's feeling on coordination with the two state agencies that manage their property in town. Needs a lot more tweaking, but yeah, it's worthwhile to have at least one question in there, in my opinion.
Okay.
Can we ask, when do we ask the state what their master plan is and maybe how that ties into paving the access roads to that park? Because it is a jewel, it's only gonna get better.
Mhm.
That park's only gonna get better going forward. Eventually restrooms, facility.
I think generally, if I was the state, I would say, well, the park is bringing people into your community, and while they're here, they're spending money in in your community, which is driving up your sales tax, which is ultimately going back into the town budget.
Yeah, through the county.
Anybody in our community.
So we do get a portion of county sales tax. So even if they fill up gas in Richmond, we are getting a portion of
And we
countywide
had
sales tax.
regional competitions and foot races and bicycle races, mountain bikes. And we had all kinds of ski races, Monroe County ski races come to Harriet. We almost had sectionals, but then there wasn't enough snow, so we had to at Bristol.
Hey, Chris, we still get a payment in lieu of taxes from DEC for the former city land, right?
That's a good question. I can't answer it correctly.
I think we do. Double check on that. I mean, and that, so I think the thing is, if you go to the state and say, we want some compensation because this traffic's tearing up the town roads, I think they have some comebacks on
I'll
that.
say
But,
that's what CHIPS is for.
yeah.
Well, it's just
Well, and even
something-
more than that, I think there was something unique about when the city sold the land to the state. We weren't going to get as much property tax
Mhm.
revenue because the city was paying some property taxes.
Yeah.
But I think part of that deal was in lieu of those taxes they're being paid to the town, property taxes are being paid to the town from the city. I think the state
Talking
now,
around the lakes, then not talking about area, you're talking about the lands around the lakes. Okay.
Mhm.
Right.
yeah, the DEC forest land, the former city property. I'm
Gotcha.
pretty sure there's still a payment in lieu of taxes on that, but double check that somewhere. But we're getting way off the subject
All
here.
right.
Way off base.
No, you're
way off
good.
base.
You're good. It was all in the same
Well,
vein. So
number-
28 and 29, we're gonna tweak them and combine them into one.
Good.
If additional investments were to be made for recreational facilities by the town, what kind of facilities should be provided? I think this is a great question. We can take a look and make sure that we are covering everything in the drop-down menu. If any other comments before we fly by that one? We're in the home stretch, everybody.
Okay.
It's interesting not to see how Harriet comes up so high, even though it's state. Question 30.
Oh, yeah. So question 31, if additional investments were to be made for recreational facilities by the town with an increase in the town tax rate, where would the best location be? So here at Hollister. That is interesting. Do we like this question?
I'd make it a candidate for being whacked myself, but
I
I'd
would as
agree.
well. I
I
think
agree.
the type of facility information is important. Like, what do people want to see? Do they want to see bike paths? Do they want to see restrooms? Do
Where?
they want to see picnic pavilions?
I-
That kind of information I think has value. But that's really, like, our town isn't geographically that large. And it's sort of the thing where, like, all of a sudden some perfect property comes up and the town board considers if it's a candidate for additional facilities. It's not really, I don't think that question 31 is gonna influence that decision.
I don't either.
Supervisor Bastola, I can tell you're deep in thought.
It's gonna take a while. He's thinking about it.
I don't know if we can ever have a question about our town center or town complex. I just think something for residents up here on the hill,
Mhm.
that's town owned, a town park of some sorts. Wouldn't be a bad thing. That's just.
You'd have to buy the property.
So,
I guess I'd keep it for now in some fashion. And, we're gonna go through this again and we can tweak it, sort of my.
So my suggestion on that would be tweaking question 30, if additional investments were to be made for recreational facilities. What kind of facilities should be provided? What if one of the options was additional recreational facilities on current town campus or something like that.
Especially when we reach out to the young people, because we really didn't last time. We didn't reach out to young people, that was been one of my things there, people we wanted to stay, right? Well, the people younger than us.
The town does own the old Simon's property next door here, so the town owns from the historian's building pretty much all the way to the other side. Of the highway barns minus 25-foot easement that Dale Shape owns.
Interesting.
We might try to work something into these two questions about recreational programs. The town used to, I don't know to what degree we still do, Chris, but used to chip in for the program that Richmond ran in the summer at
We still are.
Sandy Bottom.
I
It's
actually
Sandy
got copies
Bottom.
today.
There was there's a little bit of agita in there about the person running it seemed to be getting paid a very, very highly paid, but I don't know where
Craig
that's
Emerald
at.
was talking about?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Craig's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
So anyways, we're actually gonna have a Richmond recreation event here at Town Hall on a Friday in May,
Neat.
on the sidebar.
What kind of event?
Just a Friday luncheon.
Oh, this is Craig Emerling you're talking about?
No, it's how I started for the last 3 years, maybe, 2-3
Yeah,
years.
Craig's been gone
Yeah.
a while.
Yep.
Yeah, he used to run it and he did a good job, but then he left and whoever,
Yeah, it's old business.
yeah. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked again.
Yeah.
Talk about beefy dick.
Okay, so question 31, we're gonna remove it. We're gonna add some additional items to question 30 about potential recreational facilities on the current town campus and expand on recreational programs as another option for that one. Basically kind of smush the two of them together. If the property around Candidates and Hemlock Lakes is taken over by the state of New York, this one happened,
That's happened.
Absolutely.
let's lose it. That's an easy
Gotta
remove.
buy it back.
And you might just not to totally lose it, but we talked about tying it back in to about, the town, some fuzzy, more close cooperation with the two agencies, something like that. So
Yep.
yeah, that question as is history.
Yeah, that's gone.
To what extent should the town government be involved in the protection of historic landmarks within the town? Do we have a significant number of historic landmarks?
Depends on what you mean by historic. I mean, there's a lot of
talking-
interesting stuff, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how.
The typical comment, the first one is, are there any landmarks within
Yeah,
the
well,
town?
this is, rehash and half.
Well, it's interesting, they've got to help preserve the graveyard, and they're actually doing it, now that's interesting. Yeah, how about that?
Which one?
Oh, the Candidates Hollow,
Well,
we actually got a compliment.
there's another one. There's a couple, actually.
Yes, for.
There's a couple.
yes, for going there.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I definitely want to hear more about that.
What was that, Chris, you were saying about Candidate's Outlet? I missed it.
Candidates Hollow Cemetery.
Oh, you're talking about cemeteries, yeah.
Well, it just talks in the comments down at the bottom, it talks about volunteers preserving a graveyard.
Tibbetts Road, is it? Or
Tybalt, yep.
Tybalt?
Yep.
My daughter earned her Girl Scout Gold Award redoing that cemetery.
How many years ago?
I also helped.
What year was that?
Oh, my God, Chris, 2002,
Okay.
2002.
Thank you.
So questions on question 33, leave it, keep it, change it.
Change it. Deep six it.
Remove it?
Yeah, that's correct. What do you want to check? Object.
I don't know. If we should totally remove it.
Okay.
I guess I'd hold it
I'm
for,
sorry, Dwayne, but I kind of like it too.
Oh, well, Chris.
yeah,
Oh, seriously.
I'd hold it for further consideration. And actually, now that I
That's a
look
good
back,
idea.
now that I look back at 32, some of the wording in that, even though the deal is done, the state owns the land, but there is the second part of that, should the town assume a role in encouraging, certain, and maybe that thought gets incorporated back into the ones above it. So, there's a little work to be done on these publicly owned lands things, but so we're up to 34.
1 second.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you for pointing it out. That was a good, I do think that part has value.
And just 33, I'm sorry to interject, but we actually have a meeting at FLCC, all the local historians and trying to get our historian involved as well. And we're going over all the blue signs and so forth in New York State, but tying also into a virtual reality, and there's some state monies like, and you've been in on those meetings, so that we're having the biggest meeting yet next Tuesday or Wednesday, Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah, so that's a neat program. All the blue signs are gonna have, like digital options, so like you can like listen to like a story that talks about that homestead in more detail or that site in more detail.
We might get a second one. We've got the one right in front of the courthouse. That's definitely gonna be involved.
Right, last question, number 34. Should the town of Canada purchase and install site identification markers for town historic landmarks?
Do we do that? Have we done that? Do we do that?
We can, lots of different ways it can happen, but that's actually what this meeting is about. Going forward. The blue signs, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was done like 15 years ago, right? The survey.
I think we did it in 2007 when we crafted 2007, 2008.
Yeah, it was 2009 is what's on the header, even though the plan itself didn't get adopted.
Yeah, we started working on it 2007, 2008, and it just took time to, but yeah, I think once it went to the town board.
Maybe I would vote for combining question 33 and 34 in some way.
That's a good idea.
It makes sense.
Very good idea.
I like both of those concepts, but I don't know that they need to be
Separate.
separate.
It'd be
Yeah.
equal.
The monetary expense on number 34 to actually buy one of those placards for the amount of historic sites that we would have in town, I mean, does it really need to be asked? I don't know, I guess I would.
Yeah, I would more say like it's like we have short, like multiple choice.
I
of,
would
like,
assume
how would the town be involved, like purchase and install more historic markers, preserve cemeteries. Just kind of have like some short
Right.
answer stuff.
You know, if question 33 was favorable in preserving the historic landmarks, the purchase of the sign would automatically come along with that.
That's right. Very good.
Actually, we're developing those hard figures on what those things actually cost.
Okay, so, oh, no, I'm so sorry, I lied.
You
Well,
lie.
the 35 is the free for all.
Hey,
Oh,
you don't lie.
35,
And
please use the following space to let us know if we missed your issue, or if you have any general or specific comments.
That was Pandora's box.
So there's lots of comments there.
Well, not as many, I thought there were more, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is like
Right.
what they put into the plan, so it may be a little bit
Yeah.
condensed.
Cutting floor.
So, okay. So I think that was great. I will, start tweaking some of the updates that we've said and start getting a working draft of that together, for everybody's review. I believe, let me just pull up our agenda one more time. I think we covered everything for this evening. I'll make a note. The one thing we didn't talk about is, where to add in questions about public water or short-term rental. We talked about those right at the beginning. I don't think that they seem to fall in with any of the existing questions, so I'll work on wording those and where in the survey is the best place to put that.
Very good.
Yeah, there may, if we think about it, there may be other new questions to add. Public water. That's not gonna, I mean, it's just not gonna happen anyplace else in town. I
That's
mean,
your favorite subject, isn't it, Mark?
well, yeah, I learned a lot about public water systems and it's just not gonna happen anyplace else in town. The density is just not there. Yeah.
Yeah,
There is the question of extending the gas line.
I could tell you a big story about that, and that ain't gonna happen either. We really ran that hard with the well, that's a long story, but we ran that hard through National Fuel Gas and with the state PSC. Long story short, that is not gonna happen. They're trying to encourage everybody to go to electric. Anything that's gonna extend or increase the use of fossil fuels, even if it's natural gas versus fuel oil or LP,
Yep.
it's just not gonna fly. The gas utilities are not gonna be
Oh,
interested. There's not enough revenue in it for them, and the state's not gonna approve it anyway. I wouldn't want to get people's hopes up on that. We really pushed that hard as part of the water project. Didn't go.
Did you have much discussion in your past with the sewer district expansion possibilities?
No, but again, Chris, are you thinking on like your side of the road?
Oh, yeah, because there are actually some properties on the west side, on the east side. People don't think there are, but if you go in and look, there are.
my
Um,
understanding
well-
is that wastewater treatment facility is at capacity.
So
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, Chris, you mean on the west side? There's people on the west side of,
Yes, the
Uh,
west side, there is a few properties, not many, a handful, less than 10, I believe.
yeah, they must have swung a deal somehow.
Yeah, I just thought it was remarkable when I first saw it. I said, whoa, okay.
Yeah. Are they in Canadice or is that in Richmond?
I believe in Richmond.
a lot of them are
Yeah.
Richmond, yeah, on the other side.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
maybe Guy, but I think he's too.
Yeah,
far.
it is Guy.
It is Guy does it.
Oh, yeah.
Guy.
Oh, yes. Yeah. he got
Fort
it.
Hill Farm.
Yep.
The other thing about the sewer system that's, I think that was put in like 76, so I think they just did a big overhaul on the plant in town, but I think they're gonna be looking at having to do some line replacements. I was surprised, on the water project, I learned a bit about that too, and I was surprised it's all only like 8-inch pipe. Even up at the north, well, at least through the town of Canadice, it's all 8-inch. And I'm surprised they're not having capacity problems, but
Right. Well, thank you for your input on that.
yeah.
Caitlin, when's the next meeting?
Our next meeting, let me get the calendar pulled up here.
Second Thursday in April would be the 11th.
It sure is, April 11th.
Right after the eclipse.
Oh, my God,
Yep.
right after the
the
eclipse.
week of the eclipse.
Okay,
so
but,
we'll
but
plan
be
to
sure
meet-
to send an
April
email
11th.
anyway,
Yep. And
so I
I'll
don't
get,
forget.
some of this updated stuff out via email, and I will send a reminder a few days before. Any other last questions or comments before we end the meeting?
Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Thank you for letting me step in and slow the meeting down a little bit.
Yes, thank you everyone so much for your participation.
Oh.
Mark, I will.
Motion to adjourn.
Swing by and drop that off on the way home.
Yeah,